Hey, welcome to Nursing Home Insider. So, we all want to age with dignity. Who would not? What does that actually look like right now in America? I know what it used to look like, and hopefully it could look like that again. What is dignity when you're aging? What is that? Respect, like being treated as an adult and not a child. And just gonna say this right here. So, I have worked in the nursing homes, of course, years and years. I have seen so much disrespect toward our elders. And it shouldn't even be respect toward elders. It's respect for people in general. And why are we not treating people with respect? I've seen nurses cuss out residents. I've seen CNAs just half-ass do anything, right with a resident. So why are we not respecting them as a person? Choice. People should have a choice in what they want to eat, what they want to do, how their care is. All of these are important in having some respect and dignity if you're in a nursing home. And even if you're not in a nursing home, we'll discuss that in a minute. So, compassion, being seen as a person and not as a task, something to do. You're there for a job, and so, you've got 8 residents, and I know that's a hopeful thing. Let's just say you have 8, and, you don't treat them as a person. So, and there again, I've done all these TikTok videos, and I've asked for CNAs to answer these questions, and I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of CNAs saying how they love their job, and that does something to me to know that there are still some out there that definitely love what they do, because to me that shouldn't be a job you do if you do not love it. McDonald's pays well, go there, okay? And then safety, just not being able to, they shouldn't have to beg for their basic needs to be met. And hopefully in nursing homes they are being fed and taken care of, and such as that, we hope. Okay? We've talked about all of this in other videos about nursing homes, and I'm going to do a video as soon as I can. I'm so busy, but I want to do one where I'm interviewing the residents. So I want you to hear from them personally, the good and the bad, okay? Because there is good out there. Now, so the barriers, what are some barriers in the nursing homes especially? And I know we can talk about this ad nauseum, is the understaffing. Because when you have understaffing, then you've got rushed care, and it's not that they don't care, but they don't have a lot of time to spend with each resident, and so therefore, they're just rushing around doing their job, and then that becomes a lack of dignity issue to that resident. Institutional settings, I think a lot of them feel so cold, and I've been in plenty, and some of them are really homey, and more of the assisted livings I feel like are more homey than the institutionalized nursing homes, but I have seen some nicer ones in that area too. Because if it's not homey, then you feel like a number again and not a person. Um, Families feeling guilty and powerless to do anything. I feel like you can make some changes, and we're going to just touch on that in just a minute. Have you ever been in a nursing home when, like, maybe they're all just, like, lined up in the hall, sitting there, bored out of their minds? That's a good example of some no dignity. Call lights that go hours without being answered. That's a dignity issue as well. Okay? Now, so families, first of all, you need to be there. So if you're there, you can go back and look at my other videos. Some ways to advocate for your loved one, ways not to advocate for your loved one. But you need to show up unannounced, different times of the day, always be available. for your loved one. Now, you need to ask questions. You need to watch how the staff is treating other residents, because that's how they're going to treat your parent if you're not there. The ones that can speak for themselves, it's always a little better for them. But you need to make it, why don't you come and make their room as homely as possible? Because, I mean, if that's where they're there to stay and they're going to live out their life there, it needs to be home. And it doesn't need to feel like an institution. And that's very important. I mean, even if the home itself is not so cozy, their room could be cozy. And if they don't let them do that, then I would go find another place to go. Facilities and staff. What can they do to preserve dignity? And this is, first of all, I'm going to talk about CNAs, because I talk to CNAs, and I've, like I said, I've got some great CNAs that have answered my questions. But what I have seen in the past several years, especially, is there's a lack of compassion, and maybe we just need to train them better. That's not the heart issue. That's just how to act, okay? And maybe, hopefully, it comes around that they'll get the respect. But they need to be taught, number one, and they are taught to knock a door before entering. You can't even pass your CNA exam if you get that wrong. So you're supposed to knock on every single door before you go in. Privacy during toileting or changing a resident. I have seen doors left open. I have seen, just multiple people in a room, and that person's laying there, and you're, changing them, and when you give them a bath in the bed, and you just kind of expose them out to everything. Those are dignity issues. And depending on the person, I mean, maybe they don't care, okay? But a lot of people do, and especially if they can't tell you, it doesn't matter. Respect their dignity. Cover them up, the parts that you're not washing. I mean, especially the private areas, and that's just basics to me as a CNA, okay? But then the language, how you talk to people. And this is where I feel like the whole generation has changed. And that's a topic for a whole nother day. But so, I mean, like I said in another video, I've seen nurses cuss out residents. I've heard all kinds of things. And I think I've said this in another video. When I was a young CNA, and this was back in the 80s, and the woman had dementia, and she was always looking for her husband to come home from work. And the other CNA would go in there every day and say that, oh, your husband's not coming back. He's having an affair with me. I mean, how devastating to that poor woman who doesn't really understand. Needless to say, I went straight to administrator and had her fired. Okay, because that is a dignity issue. Just treating people the way you want to be treated. I mean, I grew up, my mom and dad taught me that. You treat others the way you want to be treated. And it sounds so simple, and yet we don't do it. Especially at work when we're so busy and we just don't think about how we sound to other people. So that is a thing that facilities and the staff definitely need to do to treat other people with respect. Is it possible to get back to that culture where people were treated with respect? I mean, I believe so. We've got to start teaching it again. I know that one of my sons, when he was younger, he was the kind of, even though I tried to teach respect, he was like, I'm not going to respect anybody that doesn't respect me. and to this day, he's very similar to that. However, there is a quote, and I found it on the internet. There's no source for it. But it says, the love, care, and attention that we give to our elderly is a measure of our humanity. So they are the people that brought you up. They brought your parents up. They've lived their life. Some of them have lots of regrets. But, they are still a person and still in need of dignity. And we, as a nation, need to get back to that. I just feel like aging with dignity, it's respect, it's compassion, it's choice, and it's what we'd all want for ourselves, and it's definitely what we would want for our loved one. I want you to comment below what dignity means to you, and families, CNAs, how you can get involved and help. And maybe not just for your loved one. Maybe you're a family member and you go to the nursing home all the time. There are so many there without family. I mean, I know that it doesn't seem possible, but it is true. And so, adopt a grandparent. If you're out there and you don't have anybody, go to a nursing home and ask who doesn't have family. When I was activity director at the last place, I had several people just show up and volunteer to come and be, alongside some people that didn't have family. So if you don't have family, they didn't have kids, they're just nobody, and they still deserve a good life, a good quality of life, and respect. So that's that today. And we talked about how it's hard to be poor growing in America, like getting old in America, in my last video. And so I think next week I'm going to discuss some options, like for those who aren't in nursing homes, and what we can do to help the older people that are poor, and what they don't want to go to a nursing home. So what are some options that we can do there? So we'll be looking at that next time. And I thank y'all very much, and I will see you soon.